and tell your management staff, you know, I'm going to get it. If you ever hear that phrase, real job, in your company, fire that person right away. Because they're not committed to what you're professing. Are you professing gymnastics or aren't you? I urge you to be serious about what you're doing. It is very valuable. Very valuable. The things that we are doing with the young children, this grit and persistence and repetitive, progressive skills is just life-changing. It's like, I mean, my JO kids come out, they're all doing great because they know how to persist, they know how to make changes, they know how to adjust, they know how to compete. And so often, I don't know about Canada, but in the States, we have this, everybody's great because they're breathing idea. But that's not what happens out in the real world. You know, they're all going to end up competing. So let's learn how to do it. And when they're 4 and 5, and the first time you ask them, what happened? And it's not my job to know what happened. I just string myself around. That's all I do. But you, from that point on, eyeball to eyeball with that kid, can start saying, what happened? What are you going to do? You are going to do is change it. You're going to put your legs together or not. And they have to take control of their lives just like they have to take control of their gymnastics. We're not talking, we're not doing all the talking. We want them to start thinking and making adjustments and progressing. That is a tremendous benefit to the kid, to the parents, to the community, and we need to respect that and work on it. Oh, there's my sermon. So my recommendation is have the short-term people do visions, values, and policy. Have them sit down and think, especially at a nonprofit in a community where they know each other, what could this place really be in 10 years? Would it be bigger? Would it be shaped differently? Would it have different programs? Would it have different kinds of staffers? What could it be? And what is it about that vision that we value? Is it the relationship with the kids? Is it the relationship with the community? Is it just the fact that we have a place to play around on Saturday afternoon when it's raining? Whatever it is, have them develop policies to head toward that direction. Group decisions. Don't let the poisonous parent dominate the discussion or dictate the path. Because the group will almost invariably end up with a better path than an individual. The second thing that you should consider is where you are. So I did a search of just gymnastics Surrey, and I got Vancouver as well as Surrey and everything else. You know, there's a fair number of clubs here. Maybe I don't even have them all. And I'm not sure all these are close because I didn't click on all these buttons. But you can see that you have a great metropolitan area here to work with. It has great demographics, if you look at the demographics in terms of income and kids. So you should be flourishing. The demographics are, and this is the one-line description, the baby boomers' kids are having kids. So for the next 15 years, the population of kids in our demographic are going to increase. Now is the time to root yourself in a good location and flourish. And you, as professionals, as professors of gymnastics, owe it to your career and your future to find the right place, root yourself there, and become known in the community with your brand and your values, and then you will have a great future because the customers are going to be there. There are a lot of them.
In 5 more years.
No, right now, it's already happening. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but year by year, or actually over the years, you'll notice a shift whether you have more school-age kids or more preschool kids. So 8 years ago, 9 years ago, we were predominantly school-age. Then we had a huge surge in Seattle of preschoolers. Now they're aging up and we're having more school-age kids, fewer preschoolers. So it kind of goes in waves. The women seem to have their babies in waves. And you just have to adjust to that. But overall, our school system is expanding. That's the easiest way to find out if you're expanding or not. Check your school system. They will have a demographer who will tell you whether we're going to have more kids or not. And if they are going to have more kids, you're going to be a happy camper because there's going to be a bigger market for you. That's what I was saying. Demographics. Maybe most kids are having kids, I always say. Another 15 years, you're in great shape. How's the time? I don't even have to read this one. Now, I will concede that if you're a nonprofit and you have government support, what a wonderful deal. You don't have to worry about this as much. But if you're a private club and this is your private career that you're developing and those of all the people that work with you, then you want to use demographics to cite yourself. You can go to this location, esri.com/products, and for free, analyze a product called Business Analyst. And they'll give you 10 free trials for this. And what you do is you stick in the location you think is good, and it'll come back with more information you can possibly handle. All you need to do is look at the number of kids, excuse me, I don't know why I'm having a problem here, and the amount of money that's being made in that district. And you can define it by drive time. So you don't have to just draw a circle or try to say this zip code, you guys don't know zip codes, whatever the zip code is. But you can say, give me the demographics within a 10-minute drive time, a 15-minute drive time, and a 20-minute drive time from this location. And where do you start? You start with the fattest gym in your area. You go to their site, you put the pin on their location, and you run the demographics. Now, every other site you check out, you want it to be better demographics than what they've got. Because you already know that those demographics work. Does that make sense to everybody? So, I don't know who the best gym, the biggest gym is around here. That's where you want to start. And you only need to run their club and 4 or 5 other sites. You should be able to compare those numbers and come up with, hey, there's a gap in the market. This is what one of these drive things looks like. This is a site, got the name of it, just north of Marysville in Washington. Well, you can see a 15-minute drive time really goes a long way because this is rural country practically. So people are willing to drive a longer time, and they can't because there's less traffic. But this is the kind of information you will get from ESRI. Is that making sense to you? Okay.
Is that just an American site or is that Canadian as well?
This is, you know, that's a good question.
Because lots of times you can pull stats up, but if they're American, there's often quite different in terms of what information you're going to be able to pull out or extrapolate into your population, into your area.
I
just wonder if that's like Canadian.
Maybe I should. Maybe I'm giving you all the bump. If there's this service in the States, it's got to be available in Canada.
You can get a lot of information through Stats Canada, BC Stats, and actually through the postal office. You can plug in your Canada Post, you can plug in your postal codes within a certain radius of your gym, and you can actually get the number of kids in the households, their income and all of that. But you do have to build multiple websites that pull that information together.
What were the sites? Let everybody know the sites.
Stats Canada, BC Stats. If your city or community has stats as well, they get theirs usually from the province and federal government, and then Canada Post.
And your local chamber of commerce.
And your local chamber of commerce.
Actually, most real estate agents will have access to this too, at least in the States they do. So they can, if you tell them you're interested in the site, they can pull the demographics for you. Another free source.
I'm just looking at it. There's ESRI Canada.
Oh, it is there? Oh,
I don't
okay.
think it's the same thing.
Well, it's probably the same company.
ESIR or ESRI?
ESRI.
B?
So what are you looking for? Lots of kids. In the States, the average number of kids in the ages, I can't even read it myself here, but 5 through 18 is about 13%. Well, here's a site with 28% of the population is kids. That's a good idea, you know? You want kids. And you look at the money, here's another one with 21% of the cash versus 15%. So you want to find a site that's pretty well off. Let's face it, well, the private side, gymnastics isn't cheap. So now for nonprofits, I've found that they go into where I would call it business. Not being derogatory, but I've seen clubs in Hays, Kansas. Well, you know, there's 23,000 people there, and the farmers kids are living 60 miles away out in the wheat fields, and it's very tough to pull together a club on a consistent basis, or even get the kids to the gym. You know, if you're on a private basis on your own, go to a rich area. I'm sorry, I have to give that advice. Whatever you do, hire a sales and registration thing and look at whether the site is likely to have the kind of people that you need. In other words, can you find people like Lisa? Can you find outgoing people with steel inside for when they get yelled at who can sell your program? So if you're out in a low education population in a rural area, that might be very tough to find. And especially for sales and registration, like I say, you count on going through 50 applicants before you find somebody that has the potential. Number 3, once you've found your location and done everything else, make sure you get a good rent deal. I don't know how many people I know have gotten tired of their small gym and just said, oh, I'm going to pay them. You know, I'm going to pay $1 a square foot for 20,000 square feet, and then I'll be able to have a really successful gymnastics program. 3 years later, they've got 20,000 square feet, they've got a big rent bill, and they've got 300 kids. It doesn't add up. You've got to make sure that your rent is ideally 10 to 15% of your revenues, if you're for-profit. And maybe at a startup stage, you're 25% of revenues. But you want to get it down to this as soon as you can by growing your program. This is where you get what's called operating leverage in finance. Once you pay all your fixed costs, all the additional revenue starts to fall all the way to the bottom line where you get to rake it in and keep it. So you want to keep that fixed cost low. Here in our area, we pay between $50.50 and 60 cents a square foot in Seattle. And that's a fairly expensive market. If I had gone down to Puyallup, south of Seattle, I could have paid 20 cents a foot for the space that I'm in. So that's kind of the range that you want to be in if you're for profit. Now, if somebody builds you a site, and runs it for you, then you don't have to worry about all this. But if you're for profit, you really have to get this rent deal right. And secondly, shop around. Make sure that when you talk, before you talk to landlords, you have found at least 3 sites. So you can say to the landlord, you know, I'm trying to decide between this one, and this one. Believe me, they sharpen their pencils when they know there's competition. And you only make this decision once every 10, 15, 20 years. So you really need to get it right. Because whatever lease you sign, you're going to live with it for 15, 20 years. And if you screw it up, you're going to pay for it for 15 or 20 years. So every month, you have an extra couple thousand coming out of your bank account that you didn't need to spend. And that's out of your pocket. Landmines in the lease, and I'm focusing on real estate because we all have to, once we put that gymnastics equipment in and the pits in, we're locked in. We have to be there. It's tough to move. Don't agree to unlimited triple net. Everybody knows what triple net is? Ever heard of that? Well, after you pay the rent, the landlord wants you to pay for the maintenance, taxes, and insurance on the site. Ideally for him, he just gets a check, and he doesn't put any money in the building. He doesn't care whether it even falls down. There are leases like that out there. You don't want to sign one. You want to make sure the landlord is taking care of the walls, the roof, the foundation, the streets, the parking area, all that stuff. And moreover, he's not charging you an exorbitant amount of money for his triple net. So ideally, you won't take on the heaters and the air conditioning. Very hard to get in the States, but it would be great if you didn't do that. So limit the triple net to 12 cents a foot to 20 cents a foot at most. Because if you're paying base rent of 50 cents a foot, you want to add another 20% to your rent? Well, it's every month. It's every month. Keep it slim. And don't pay for your landlord's attorneys either. Read the lease, because you could end up paying for them to sue you. Now, number 4 thing for long range, plan for your staff. The people that, just as you're a professor, the people that you hire hire, you want them to be committed to their career with you. And this is not AT&T where they have volumes of policies that automatically move people around and assure their training and all this stuff. You have to do this. So make sure you have a professional sales and registration and a professional coaching cash. Those two things are what we open a gym with. The coaching head and the sales and registration head. But they all need a career path. Now maybe our career path isn't the best one for everybody, but we have set the company on a growth path. So we expect to have opportunities for the people as they move up. If, on the other hand, your parents' vision is, we're just going to do this for the next 20 years, you as a professor or a professional have to say, there's not much upside in that for me. Where's the upside for me? And believe me, if you're thinking like that, every single one that you hire is thinking like that. What is my upside? Where can I go? How can I make more money, be more respected, be more skilled, be more creative? What's my upside? Especially young people. Naturally, they should be thinking like that. So you have to be ahead of it. Think about their career path. Where are they going to get the money? What jobs are they going to be eligible to do? And especially as they have families, the pressure really builds because they got to be able to pay for all the kids and schooling and everything that goes with having children. So think ahead again, management. I've already said this really, but you need gymnastics and you need sales to start up. When we first started out 20 years ago, most of our competition were just a coach that decided he liked gymnastics and he opened the gym and he did everything. And those people are all gone now.
I'm still there.
Oh, sorry.
For Canada.
So just as an example for career path, because I know it's kind of a vague term, we start off with a person that's a floor instructor, regular line instructor. Then they become a floor supervisor. They're responsible for all the safety and anything that happens on the floor they can stop, including team practice. So then they become a program manager. Maybe they become the class program manager, or the preschool program manager, or the special events program manager, or whatever. Then they become a program director once they build their program to over 300 children. Then they become an assistant site manager. This is where we're starting to groom them to run their own gym. And that's really what we're telling people. Where you'll make $100,000 to $150,000 a year is when you run your own gym. That's what we want to have happen. But we're not starting out there. We're starting down there at $12, $14 an hour. And to get there, you have to go through and check the boxes. We want to make sure you know how to run a site. We want to make sure you know how to promote a site. And if you pass all those hurdles and show you everything else, if you're really sharp and got guts, we'll have you do a startup. And we'll pay you. Here's for competitive coaches. They start off just as an instructor, usually a rec instructor coming in. We see that they have some skills. They remember what they were taught when they were kids. They begin as a coach, OJT, usual way. They become experienced by running teams and competing for a couple of years. They become a senior coach. Then they start coaching other coaches. This is really hard for competitive coaches. Not many make this hurdle. Then, if they can get past this, they become the assistant to the director and eventually director. And by this point, before they can be done all this, I already have implicated their management training. I know they can manage things, and they can then become their own site manager. But by then, they're not really thinking like a competitive coach anymore. They're thinking like a manager. What's this place going to look like 5 years from now? Career path for sales and registration. It's tougher to get registrars thinking about running a gym, but you can do it. You start off as a trainee registrar, then you're a regular line registrar. Any questions? Then you're a head registrar for your site. Then you're the director of registration, over here. Then you become a site manager, and then you become a startup manager. So we want people to end up at a really lucrative position, having checked off all the boxes from their career path. By the time somebody becomes a site manager, they've taught, they've registered, they've done maintenance, they've haggled with landlords, they've fought with attorneys, they've bitched with parents, they've done the whole shot. You know, they're real pros. of this is guided by those things. So if you don't have a board, who's going to do it? You. You have the vision. And you have provided the right location and the programming. You've got the decent rent. You've got staff that are committed because they know there's an upside for them. If you're a cooperative, then the board has to go through all of this process. But if you're private, sit down and think it through before you put your money into it. I have seen 3 people leave our company and decide to start their own gym. Well, 2 of them are out of business already because they didn't sit through this. Even though they've sat there and watched how we do it for 6, 7, 8 years, they didn't do their homework.
They thought they could reinvent the wheel. They thought they could just start all fresh, they wouldn't have to follow any of the training, because they knew how to do it best. And obviously they failed.
So don't you do that. Think it through. All the little checklist items we're talking through here. Okay. This is probably the last slide or close to it. But one of the things that we realized when we wanted to grow the thing was, although we had always had the floor supervisors, those are rec coaches in control of the floor, we had not really focused on value for the rec customer. I always said we want to have playground stars. We want to have kids who can do skin cat, cartwheel, handstand. You know, when you're 7 or 8 on the playground, you're hot stuff. My daughter wowed the whole school because she could do a kick. You know, wow! So you don't have to create double backs to make playground superstars, and that's where 97% of your kids are going to be. They're going to be playground superstars, not Olympians. And only 3% of the population is physically capable of competing in gymnastics. So where's the money? Gymnastics, as we all know. So make sure your rec side is protected. That's why our recreational floor supervisor is control the floor. Somebody was telling me during the break, oh, all our rec kids get stuffed over here on this floor and they never get the rest of the gym. Well, there you got a 15,000 square foot gym and they're all crammed into 400 or 1,600 square feet. What does that tell the rec kids? What does that tell their parents? You're not committed to that. So, ooh, did I just offend somebody? Sorry. Make sure your rec kids are taken care of. Do progress them. Do take care of them. Do get that relationship with those kids and their parents. It's popular, cheaper, safer, more profitable, and competition is really just an upward path for a few kids. Provide that upward path. We've provided 3 paths for our skilled kids. But we don't tell them, we don't advertise it, we don't push that as our value. We want a value for the rec kids. Strength, skill, and character. So these are the things I think over the years, especially in the last 8 years, have brought us to a lot of kids and a lot of sites. We are blessed with good demographics. You're blessed with a good market area. So I can't overemphasize getting the right location. But once you do that, focus on that rec program, provide the other things as an ancillary to that success. And that kind of winds up the day. I want to thank Kelly for organizing all of this. I didn't realize we'd have such a mob. I thought that 5 or 10 people would wander in. And by the way, somebody asked if they could visit. You can visit any time. We're always down there. And we get a lot of visits. It's nice to have people coming up, gymnastics people. It's great to see them. And because they come in and, like, we've gotten some great ideas for YouTube, or not YouTube, but you too, in addition to what and that's the best part of getting together.
So do you run a star meet?
Huh?
Do you run a star league meet?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, we run several a year.
Oh,
So maybe we're gonna come to one?
yeah, you betcha.
We have our first one April 27th.
Maybe a little early.
There's only 2 starting seasons though. So there's the fall season and the spring season.
Okay,
So they train in between that and then they have their meet season.
sounds great.
Then they train and then they have another meet season. So that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool. And there you don't have these all the complications of different code points and development paths and all this stuff.
So it's like our interclub.
Well, yeah, but I think it's lower than that.
Oh,
you know, because it's only,
Come on down and see it. Come on down
and I love the idea that they only get a team score.
Yeah.
I think that's a really neat idea, because that's what we've been looking for.
Yeah, but I think with gymnastics too, and this is what I sometimes hear from parents, is that gymnastics is great, but they put their kids in soccer or hockey or baseball because it's a team sport. They want to bring that team thing. But if you've got a little team
Yeah.
of these gymnasts that are working for a score and how their little body suits and stuff like that, oh my God.
So you want bodysuits for the kids, so they feel part of the team, or they just wear whatever.
Yeah, we've heard about that. We just never had time to work on it. Do it.
Some of the parents go, if the kid registers correctly, you don't get a bodysuit, you know, but it feels important for some parents.
Obviously, we have a pro shop where they can purchase any number of them, but not a specific.
But your Star League is,
Absolutely.
That's a big thing.
yeah, that's all about the Leo.
And it's about the stars too. The
Oh.
Leos come with one star already embroidered, and then as they move up to the next level, they get a second
Oh,
star,
I love it.
third star.
So free.
It's all